Well, joining me now is Ruth London, co-director of Fuel Poverty Action. Good afternoon to you, Ruth. Perhaps we could start by you giving us an idea of the extent of fuel poverty before these price rises kicked in.
Well, the official statistics say over 4 million households, that's many more people, of course, in the UK, and that the price rises now are going to add another 500,000 to that. But of course, the statistics only show part, in fact, of the problem, because the statistics focus on those houses that are poorly insulated, and that is certainly something that needs to be focused on. That's a big part of the problem. But there are lots of people, even in well-insulated homes, who actually can't afford to put the heating on and are still cold. So fuel poverty is even wider than the statistics show.
Yeah, we'll come on to insulation in a minute. What is the reality of living with fuel poverty? Just give us the picture.
A lot of people die. Before these price rises and before the pandemic, it was about 10,000 a year on average in the UK every winter dying because they couldn't keep their homes warm. That is an absolute scandal in what is in fact quite a wealthy country. And, we've seen over the past period, we've seen wealth being sucked upwards, redistributed upwards, people at the top end of the scale, many of them doing very nicely now, and big corporations that have made windfall profits. And yet the people at the bottom, who are not responsible for the problems that led to these price increases, they're the ones who are paying, sometimes with their lives, sometimes their health. I mean, imagine being ill with COVID in a house you can't keep warm. Sometimes with relationships, as families are crammed together in one room because they can't afford to heat anything else. Pensioners, going to bed early because they can't keep warm any other way. That's no reward after a lifetime of hard work, people caring for others, people working.
No, yeah, quite right. And Ruth, the system seems to be structurally biased against those on low incomes, many of whom are on prepayment meters, which can be more expensive. There's also more difficult for people to switch tariffs, isn't it? Just explain that to us.
There's all sorts of ways in which people pay more. You pay more for your energy if you have least to begin with. And we're saying that the government should actually reverse that so that people who have least pay a lower tariff. And we want them to look into it. We've been putting forward proposals on that, but Fuel Poverty Action is unfunded. We've actually got a crowdfunder going at the moment, if any of your watchers want to contribute to that, because we're trying to get the government to work out a system where people pay less if they have less to begin with. For instance, a free band of energy for people at the bottom so that you have enough to heat your home and, cook and keep the lights on and keep your fridge and freezer going. All of these things are, it's an emergency now. It's not something that you can just say, okay, we've got these long-term visions. It has to be something where people have the money now, returned to them from the money that has been sucked up from the bottom, have the money now to keep their standard of living for themselves, whether you're a pensioner or children. And people are not going to
Tesco.
their children suffering like this.
OK, Ruth, thank you very much indeed for your time on Sky News.